Yo, what's good everyone? Happy Friday. Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash plays for this Week 1 NFL DraftKings main slate. But before we dive into my spreadsheet here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of these cash plays. Alright everyone, diving into the spreadsheet here like we always do, starting in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. We got two of these games coming in with an implied total above 50 points, but a handful of games that could really turn into a shootout this weekend. A lot of appeal there for sure. And then I got the highest implied team totals listed behind me, and you can kind of just use that as a reference point as I'm going through some of my favorite plays here today. And for those of you who are new to this video, what I do is I go position by position, talking about some of my favorite cash game plays, and then we'll wrap it up there with one low-priced option or a sub-4K wide receiver play. And before we dive into the quarterbacks here, everyone, I just want to quickly preface the video with this. Being that there is quite a bit of uncertainty heading into Week 1, I do tend to scale back on the cash contest side of things this week and be a little more tournament and GPP focused. So I just want to quickly mention that, and I'm actually going to have my GPP video coming out Saturday morning, so make sure you stay tuned for that. With that being said, let's dive into the quarterbacks here, and I'm going to keep it really simple at the quarterback position when it comes to my cash lineup this week. I like Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance. I talked about both of these guys in my first look video earlier this week, and really the explanation remains the same as to why I like them here on Friday. You got two guys who offer a safe floor with their rushing upside, but got a really nice ceiling as well this week, especially considering the matchups that they have. We got Jalen Hurts and the Eagles going on the road against the Detroit Lions. Trey Lance is playing maybe the worst team in the NFL this year in the Chicago Bears. That's a defense that definitely doesn't scare me. Now, I prefer Jalen Hurts here. He's been more proven in the NFL than Trey Lance has, but two guys with a very similar quarterback style, and again, I just really like the matchup this week. I'm definitely going to try and jam Jalen Hurts in my cash lineup, but if I need that $800 in savings, then I'm okay pivoting to Trey Lance. Now moving on to the running backs, and honestly I'm 100% okay rostering Jonathan Taylor or Austin Eckler in my cash lineup this week as well. Jonathan Taylor's got a beautiful matchup against the Houston Texans, a team that he dominated all of last year, and Austin Eckler playing in a game that could definitely turn into a shootout against the Raiders, currently with the second highest implied game total right now. He's got a solidified goal line role and very involved in the passing game, so definitely okay with either one of those guys. You're going to see them used pretty heavily in cash lineups this week. But of the top three for me, not including Derrick Henry because I know he's priced up there, he's more of a GPP play for me. It's Christian McCaffrey on the cash side of things. In my opinion, he offers the safest floor-ceiling combo without having to score a touchdown. He could legit score 25, 30 plus DraftKings points this week without finding the end zone. So yeah, he's the guy for me, and honestly, probably the cheapest we're going to get him all year long. This is usually a guy, when healthy, that floats around the $9,500 range, even the $10K range, so I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. Next on my list there then is Joe Mixon, and honestly, he kind of just crept on the radar for me on the cash side of things here today. Love him on the GPP side of things, but looking at that Steelers defense, their front four is legit. Maybe one of the best in the NFL, but outside of that, it's a defense that I'm not really too concerned about. The linebackers really don't scare me, and a defense that allowed 146 rushing yards per game last season. And I don't want to get too much into 2021 statistics, but that was the most in the NFL, so hard to ignore that. $7,100, need about 21.3 DraftKings points in order to meet 3x value. I think Mixon could do that here in Week 1. I then got Aaron Jones there of the Green Bay Packers, who I like on the cash game side of things this week, but love him on the tournament side of things. I'll talk about him in my GPP video tomorrow, but a good matchup for Aaron Jones and the Packers on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. I know this is a completely different Minnesota team, new head coach, new defensive coordinator, a lot of turnaround this offseason, but that's a defense that ranked 32nd overall in rush DVOA last year, and I struggle to believe that they improved so much this offseason that they're going to be able to shut down this Packers offense. And we have no idea what these wide receivers are going to look like in this Packers offense. Aaron Jones should legit be locked into 5 targets this game, and I wouldn't be shocked if he sees close to 10 targets, and probably close to 12 plus rushing attempts as well. So a good matchup for Aaron Jones here. I expect him to be heavily involved in both the running game and the passing game. A.J. Dillon is certainly going to be involved as well, but between both of those running backs, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of run this Green Bay offense come Sunday. I then got Eli Mitchell there of the San Francisco 49ers, and what I love about this play here is the price in matchup. I understand that Mitchell wasn't heavily involved in the passing game last year and probably won't be this year with Trey Lance at quarterback, but at $5,400, we need 16.2 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. I don't think that's a problem at all against this Chicago defense, one that gave up 125 rushing yards per game last season and definitely didn't improve this offseason. So yeah, $5,400, I think he can definitely meet 3x value and might be a game where he goes over 100 rushing yards. If he does that, that's 13 DraftKings points. If he happens to find the end zone as well, he could very well smash his value. And then we're going to wrap up the running backs there with Dameon Pierce of the Houston Texans. Look, this comes down to price as well at $4,800 here. He is a rookie playing on a rather bad team in the NFL, but if you're looking for a cheap option who is solidified as an RB1, or at least that's what the reports say, we've never seen this guy play in the NFL, $4,800 is easy to fit in your lineup, especially at the running back position. But honestly, everyone, I'm probably not going to go that route, but he was worth talking about considering the price. We then got the wide receivers here. First guy I got is Justin Jefferson. He's my favorite overall wide receiver on this main slate. I'm not really worried about Jair Alexander shadowing him. He didn't do that last year and don't foresee that happening on Sunday. And plus, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to try and get JJ in the slot as much as possible, similar to what we saw with Cooper Kupp last year. Let's not forget, a brand new system in Minnesota, and they want to get Jefferson the ball as much as possible. I prefer to pay up for the running back position. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get Jetta in my cash lineup. I'm absolutely going to have exposure to him in my tournament lineups, but probably not going to be able to afford him in my cash lineup. But if you prefer to pay up for a top-tier wide receiver in your cash lineup, this week it's Justin Jefferson for me. We then got Michael Pittman Jr. there of the Indianapolis Colts, and this might be the most popular play on the main slate this week, talking cash games and tournaments. $5,500 is way too cheap for Michael Pittman Jr., especially considering the matchup against the Houston Texans and a quarterback upgrade with Matt Ryan. So yeah, way too cheap, $5,500, probably just going to staple him in my cash lineup this week. The next two guys that I got here then are Elijah Moore and Christian Kirk, and it's an interesting situation here because I do like both of these guys, would play them in my cash lineup, but it is going to come down to what happens with Rondale Moore of the Arizona Cardinals. And you notice I don't even have him on the spreadsheet here. He is listed as questionable, and honestly, at this point on Friday, I don't believe he's going to play, something we need to keep an eye on, because if he is a full go on Sunday, he's only $4,000 and someone I'll absolutely be including in my cash game pool. So if he's in that mix, it very well could change the way I approach wide receivers. If he's not in the mix, I might just put in Elijah Moore and Christian Kirk here, because I'm always a little skeptical rostering someone from that New York Giants offense. I know they brought in Brian Dable, and I do expect him to turn things around, but Daniel Jones is just not it, man. And I struggle to put any faith, any cash in that man. I know he's not Kadarius Toney, but he throws him the ball. So, yeah, Kadarius Toney, I think he's an interesting play here. He has a chance to be the Giants' #1 wide receiver this year, and Titans did rank last year in adjusted fantasy points to the wide receiver position. So that's interesting. I know I kind of skipped over Elijah Moore and Christian Kirk here. Let's talk about both of these guys. You know, with Elijah Moore, I just expect him to be targeted heavily early and often in this game against the Baltimore Ravens, a game they're likely playing from behind as well. But Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback, and I look for him to dump things off as much as possible to those low A-dot routes, and that should be Elijah Moore. Now, Christian Kirk here's got a pretty solid matchup against the Washington Commanders. I got to get used to saying that, that's for sure. But they paid this guy this offseason, the Jags did, to be the #1 wide receiver. I do kind of like Marvin Jones in the mid 4K range as well, but what really stuck out to me here was Kirk ran 22 routes this preseason and was targeted on 37% of those routes. I know that's a really small sample size, but 37% definitely stuck out to me, and the Commanders ranked 29th in points allowed to slot wide receivers in 2021. So a really good matchup for him and a really good price as well for all three of these guys that don't need a whole lot in order to meet 3x value. We then got the tight ends here, and I'm probably just going to spend down at the tight end position this week in my cash lineup. Darren Waller in the 5K range is definitely interesting, but probably more of a tournament play for me. I do like Dallas Goedert here at $4,500 and even Zach Ertz at $4,400, who I mentioned in my first look video earlier this week. He's in a very similar situation to Rondale Moore right now for the Cardinals, where these guys are questionable heading into the weekend. I haven't seen an official word as I record this right now, but if he does play, he would be on my radar as well. But I do like Goddard at this price of $4,500 in a favorable matchup against the Detroit Lions, who allowed the 5th most receptions to tight ends in 2021 and ranked 29th overall in DVOA against the tight end position. So a really good matchup here and a really solid price. And if you can make it work with Jalen Hurts, it's a nice little stack there as well. Even though Jalen Hurts does have that rushing upside, I do expect him to throw the ball a little bit more this year as well. And then if you really need to save money at the tight end position, I like Cole Kmet here. There's a handful of other guys in the 3K range, David Njoku, Irv Smith, Hayden Hurst are some guys that stick out to me if you're looking to spend down. I know there's been people talking about Mo Alley Cox. That is definitely a tournament play for me. But on the cash side of things, I do like Cole Kmet here at $3,700. It is a nice price for him, considering he saw a 17% target share last year, and I don't see that decreasing this season. You know, Darnell Mooney is still the number 1 target in this offense, but Cole Kmet should be the number 2 target. I wouldn't be surprised if that creeps up to the 20% range by the end of this year. It is a tougher matchup against the 49ers, who did rank 15th overall in DVOA against the tight end position last year, but the Bears are likely playing from behind in this game as well, and probably throwing the ball quite a bit. Now, you guys know the deal when it comes to my defenses. I try not to get too cute, find the best defense in the 2K range for my cash lineup. Obviously, if I got extra money laying around in my lineup, I'll pay up for a defense, but usually that doesn't happen. That's certainly not going to happen here in week 1. So the defense that stuck out to me in the 2K range was the Miami Dolphins playing at home against the New England Patriots. I mentioned this in my first look video earlier this week. I do think Mac Jones will have a nice long career in the NFL, but I'm not convinced he's a very good quarterback right now, and very well could turn the ball over a couple of times in this game. Plus, the Patriots lost their longtime offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, this offseason to the Raiders. We have no idea what this Patriots offense is going to look like in general. There's rumor it could be Matt Patricia as the new offensive coordinator. He's been a defensive coordinator his entire NFL coaching career. So, yeah, I really like the Dolphins on the cash and tournament side of things, and will probably have quite a bit of exposure to them. Now, if you need to save $100, I think the Commanders are fine against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, they certainly got better this offseason as well, but probably still a bottom-tier team in the NFL. And if you really need to punt at the defensive position, I don't mind the Minnesota Vikings. I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to make mistakes in this game. Might get sacked a couple of times, but turning the ball over, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. He usually doesn't do that, but these rookie wide receivers, we don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know what this offense in general is going to look like, and I don't foresee them putting up 26 plus points in this game. What are they at right now here? They're at 24.25 as a team total. I think that's probably the ceiling, and I know there's people out there going, dude, you're a Vikings fan. Yeah, I am a Vikings fan, but I don't know. I just don't foresee this Packers offense putting up 4+ touchdowns in this game. I know that Vikings defense was not great last year, but at $2,200, I don't mind them as a punt defense this week. And then to wrap up this spreadsheet here, like we always do, I got my low price option or sub 4K wide receiver play. And in week 1, that is going to be Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York Giants. Now, I will say this. Odds are I'm not playing Kadarius Toney and Robinson in the same cash lineup. Tournament lineup? Maybe, but probably not even going to do that. I talked about how little of faith I have in Daniel Jones, and that doesn't make me want to play 2 of his wide receivers in my cash lineup. Now, I do prefer Kadarius Toney, obviously a little more chemistry there with Daniel Jones. He had that blow-up week last year in Week 5 against the Cowboys. I believe he had 13 receptions, 189 receiving yards, and 32.6 DraftKings points. I'm going off the top of head. I'm going to have to go look that up. But yeah, obviously a little more chemistry there. But Wan'Dale is listed as wide receiver number 3 in this offense, currently playing in the slot, and he's the bare minimum price on DraftKings at $3,000. And the Giants are 5.5-point road dogs in this game against Tennessee, likely playing from behind and probably need to throw the ball quite a bit. So like I said, I do prefer Kadarius Toney, but if I need that price savings, I certainly don't mind Robinson here at the bare minimum $3,000. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I got a lot of football content coming your way for the 2022 NFL season, so make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, folks, let's have ourselves a great week 1. Let's win some money as well. I'm out of here.